What's going on, guys? We are back. We are here to talk about the RLCS season and the blog post that they put out about the new formats and all of that stuff. It sounds confusing on paper. It's not as confusing, I promise. I'll go over it right now, and we'll just kind of go through the post and we'll see how they describe things and how I'll describe things, what I like and what I don't like. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with the all-new 3v3 format. So, 3 open tournaments still, 3 regionals, whatever you want to call it, per split. You get points, you qualify. It's the same teams are going. 4NA, 4EU. We'll talk about those later, so don't worry about that. But new format, no more Swiss in the main event portion, top 16 portion, but there is Swiss earlier. So we start off days 1 and 2 are your open bracket. Everyone can sign up. You do double elim to determine your top 32 teams. Then 2 Swisses to get down to your top 16 teams for the main event. So that'll be on day 3. That's the first weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you move into the next weekend, which is like your main event, in quotes. It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday again, day 4, 5, and 6. So I love this change because I think last year teams would get knocked out before they made it to your main event weekend. Basically due to bracket luck a lot of the times, or like one upset throws everything off, right? And then like a team gets in that just had an easy bracket, and everyone's like, well, give them a chance, maybe they would. No, they would just go 0-3 into us almost every single time, right? So this will definitely get your best top 16 teams. There'll probably be a couple of teams like on the bubble, maybe top 20 that like there'll be 4 different teams or so in. But generally speaking, you're going to get your very best at the main event. So that is good. When we get to the main event, things are changing. No more Swiss for that. I don't know how team streams feel about that on like that first day, because the Swiss days were a lot of fun. There were long streams for team streams that like them. Now the streams are going to be a bit shorter. So we'll read this part right here. 2 16 teams, two 8-team GSL brackets to determine the top 8 teams in each region on day 4 of the preliminary stage. Again, that is on the Friday. Finishing off with 2 days of hybrid elimination bracket action to determine basically each region. So that's a lot of words. 2 8-team GSL brackets into a hybrid elimination bracket. Don't remember any of that. All it is, top 16, double elim until you get to a top 4. Once you're at top 4, everyone has 1 life. That's literally it. The lower bracket changes slightly because of the groups and all of that, but generally speaking, top 16, everyone's got 2 lives until you make it to top 4, then everyone has 1 life no matter what. So basically, in double elim, the 2 winner bracket finalists, they would normally play each other to see who goes to the grand final with 2 lives. They will not. They will split up and go into the different parts of the bracket for the top 4. The 2 lower bracket teams that make it to the lower bracket final that would normally play for that 4th place spot or 3rd and 4th, and then one team would keep moving on. Instead, they will be split as well and go into those matches against the upper bracket finalists, but every single team will have 1 life. I like this format. I think people are like, oh, this is great. I didn't really like Swiss. I feel like this always happens when a format is played for too long and then we change to a new format. Everyone's like, this is great. And then eventually everyone kind of falls back down to like, oh, yeah, this is why this wasn't as good, right? Like every format has flaws. For this format, like in particular, obviously one upset is going to throw things around a lot. Swiss in the past was good at finding your top 8 teams, but it was not good at finding your best, like your 2 and 3 teams, right? Because the brackets would be so hard to measure, or like brackets would get lopsided very easily. So that, like, this kind of helps that, but one upset obviously is going to mean we're going to have like insane matches in the like 9th place round of the lower bracket at times to determine if you can even make it to the top 8 playoff, right? So we'll see how it all plays out. But I don't mind it. It just means there's less matches, but every match means that much more, right? Because in Swiss, we talked about this in the last video when we talked about our best of. Like, does game 2 even matter in a long best of series? Does round 2 in Swiss even matter? or round 1 in Swiss, I guess is probably a better thing. So in this, every match is going to be incredibly important, but the team streams obviously are going to have a lot less to play with, right? They're either going to have 2 matches or they're going to have 3, but with a break somewhere in there, I think. So we'll see how it all plays out. RLCS points will be awarded top 16 teams. Same thing as usual. Prize money has been split up even more, I believe, this time around. Less money for the top teams, and just more money split amongst all of them. It's up to you if you think that's positive or negative. Generally speaking, it depends on where orgs land. But in the past, I always felt like I never liked the lopsided, like the top, because those teams have a salary and an org anyway. Obviously, things are a little bit different right now, so that could change, but we'll see. Moving on. Yeah, top 128 teams cash and NA in Europe, top 64, top 32. For South America, OC and MENA for top 64. Top 32 teams in APAC and SSA. Get some money. Okay. 3v3 major qualified teams. Here's what I was talking about before. North America and Europe each get 4. MENA, OC, and SAM, they all get 2 teams. APAC and SSA, they still get their 1 team. Each major will be adopted in the format used for the World Championship in 2024. So we do Swiss for the major. A lot more games. I think it makes sense there because it's like teams are flying from really far away. They probably want at least 3 games, right? But the one thing I believe it's in the rules is the way they seed teams when they get to bracket is based on buckles. And just correct me if I'm wrong in the comments because I haven't looked at it recently. But I believe that's how it works. But buckles is not used for matchups in Swiss. So I like this for 2 reasons. One, I'm not a big fan of buckles for seeding inside of a Swiss because I feel like you just get because you have no control, right? If you go 3-0 in your first round, it really just depends in round 3, I guess. It'll depend. Like if you go 3-0, 3-0, right? You should be probably the top dog, right? But it really just depends on what your round 1 opponent did against whoever they played in round 2. Would determine where you're seated. And I feel like that's not incredibly fair, but I do like it when we get to the bracket because then you look at the body of work, right? If you have 2 teams at 3-0 and 1 team played, all the top 5 teams, right? Like all the 3-1 teams and beat them all. They deserve number 1 seed, right? While the other one didn't play any top teams. Like, I think that's fair. There is no tiebreaker, which is good. Like, I don't think we need tiebreakers. It is going to be a bit of a downer for the 5th seed, obviously, of like, well, we beat who we were supposed to beat, and then, we didn't get the seed we wanted. Generally speaking, though, if you go 2-0 in Swiss, lose there, and then win in round 4, you will almost always, or maybe always, be a top 4 seed. So that's what teams should be looking at doing, is trying to go 2-0 in Swiss. And even if you lose that round, if you win again, then you'll move on in that top side of the bracket. One thing that'll probably happen a lot in the hybrid bracket is we'll probably get a lot of rematches from Swiss round 3 because the 2-0 teams, like if they, whoever wins is 3-0, obviously. So you got top 2 seeds in that bracket. Then seeds 3 and 4, as long as they win in that 3-1 round, which most of the time they should, they could very easily just rematch the same team that they just played. So it might just be a repeat of that. It's probably a decent shot at it. I would say like probably about a coin flip shot that you get both rematches, or maybe a little bit less than that, but still. So just note that. But yeah, so we'll do the hybrid elimination bracket. Again, the hybrid elimination bracket, because I didn't explain it before because it's just double elim. It's just top 4 teams are in the upper bracket. The bottom 4 teams are in the lower bracket to begin playoffs. So it means the Swiss matters even more to do well. 1v1 details. All right, so this one's a little bit weird. So the first split, the Birmingham split, players from SAM, EU, and APAC will be able to participate in an all-new 1v1 event. The format of the exact copy of 3v3 events. It's basically just one open, right? For 1v1. But it's limited to 2 regions. So yes, APAC, they can play, but they have to play in either EU or SAM. So they can't play because They just can't. There's just not good ping for that. So, yeah. So it's weird that they didn't give APAC their own small 1v1 and maybe a small prize pool and just say, hey, you're not going to the major, but here, have fun. Instead, they're just like, no, try and play in EU and SAM, which they're not going to do. So basically, the winner of EU and the winner of SAM will be flown out to the major, and they will compete in a 1v1 final to determine who goes to the World Championship. Then we do the same thing in Split 2. We don't know who the teams are or where the location is, I should say. But players from NA, MENA, OC, and SSA will have the opportunity to participate. But again, it's only NA and MENA that are going to have the regional tournaments. So begs the question, like SSA, I guess, could play in MENA. The ping's not going to be great, but they could. Like, I could see that. But for OCE, will they get NA West servers if OCE is in the 1v1 versus NA? I wonder. It's still not great, but I wonder if they'll at least do that for them. I'm not sure. But basically, the winner of NA and MENA will then participate at wherever that major is. And the winner will then go to the World Championship. So then you got the winner of the 4 power regions, I would say. Whoever the winners are, they will play one 1v1 championship match. Now, we haven't seen exactly where this match will be played, like what day of the week. I assume it's in front of the crowd, right? But I bet it will be determined a lot by, are these players participating in the 3v3? Are they like at this tournament right now? Because I think that changes where you could put it. Because if a team's in it still, right, and that player's in it, you can't really put that before a grand final, right? Because that team's getting ready, like, could potentially make a grand final, and then they're trying to get ready for that. But you'd probably put that on like a Saturday night to open the day, or to close the day, I should say. If they're not participating at the major or the World Championship, then you could put it right before the grand final, so we get back-to-back grand finals. So I wonder exactly what they're going to do there. So we'll have to see. Oh, the one thing I wanted to bring up about major seeding, which is not brought up in here at all, it's brought up in the other rules, is my one qualm, and there's probably a couple qualms, and maybe I make a video about this later, but I believe it's NA2 and NA3 are seeds 7 and 10. I personally don't like that because that means they would play in the first round at the major. Not because of the international matchup thing, which I think is important, that it's all international matchups, but more importantly, it just really means that the NA2 and NA3 seed, it does not matter what seed you get. It does matter for World Championship points, obviously, to bring them along, from Split 1 to Split 2. That will matter, right? Because that 5-point difference or whatever it is could determine if you go to the World Championship or not. But going to the major itself, when you're seeded based on points in your region, you want to be seeded, or you want to get a more favorable matchup, right? In NA2 and 3, it literally will not matter which seed you get because you're going to play one another. So that kind of throws that out the window. So I'm hoping that gets changed. I'll probably talk to them about it and see if we can get that changed, but who knows? Maybe not now because the rules are out. But that's the one thing I don't like. So that all being said, let's go over the World Championship qualification. After RLCS TBA major, so I guess basically the splits nowadays, based on how they're wording this, are just going to be named after whatever location we are going to. That's what it sounds like. So Birmingham split, wherever we go next, which means very likely, I would think, and that we will know where the major is before we even begin that split, which is a good thing, right? Hopefully that happens, but I'm not sure. Maybe they'll change it and be like, never mind. We'll just call it Split 2 because we can't tell you where it is yet. It's possible. Okay. Top 16 teams who earn the most points for the season in each region will be invited to the World Championship 2025. That is the same as the majors, right? You got your 4 NA, 4 Europe, 2 MENA, 2 OC, 2 SAM, 2 APAC, 1 APAC, 1 SSA. In addition to these 16 teams, though, here's where the new thing comes in. There will be 4 last chance qualifiers to determine the final 4 teams that will attend the Rocket League World Championship 2025. The addition of last chance qualifiers is a new one for RLCS 2025 and aims to offer more teams the opportunity to qualify for the largest LAN event in 2025. The 4 regions with the best average, I'm going to put this average LAN performance in 2025, that is a very big point there, and I'll explain why in a second, were in a last chance qualifier for their region. Each region will send 1 extra team to the Rocket League World Championship 2025. Okay, right away, let's explain average. I do not like this rule right away. So average means you take all your teams, or this is what I assume average means. Now, again, I could be wrong, I guess, technically. You take your 4 NA teams, the old G2 comes in first, then you get all 3 NA get 9th, right? Or something. So if we're doing Swiss, that'd be 9, 10, 11. So I would assume you average that to 10.5. So 10.5, 10.5, 10.5, and a 1. That is 32.5. Did I do that right? I think so. 32.5, you divide that by 4 for your average, and you get 8.125. So that would be their placement, right? This is probably a bad example because I use that in it. But anyway, so that's what they're determining. I would rather you do it by whatever your last team is, only determined based on that. So say NA4, all right, so let's change this a bit. Let's give a 2 NA are amazing this year, right? And like NA3 and 4 are terrible. So NA1 and 2, one gets first, one gets third, or 3.5. And then the other 2 go 1 and 3. So that would be what? 12 through 14. So that's an average of 13. So 13 plus 13, 26, plus 3.5, 29.5, plus 1 is 30.5. You divide that by 4, it's like 7.5125 or something like that, or whatever it is. That's a really good rank, right? They're going to make it for the last chance qualifier because you're already like a top 8 thing, right? But OCE, 1 seed and 2 seed both get 9th, we'll say. So they average at 10.5. Clearly worse than NA, but the OC 1-2 are clearly better than NA 3-4. So NA 3-4 is going to get a 5th team there, while OC doesn't get a 3rd team when they are way, way better, right? So you see how this could be a problem, I guess. So that's the one thing I don't like. I wish they would just do whatever your last place team is at a major, you base it on that. Do you get a last chance qualifier or not? Sure, that means it'll be a little bit harder for NA and EU to get one because they have 4 teams. It's more likely that one of them bottoms out, right? But at the same time, they already have 4 teams, right? So if you're the region is that good and you want to send a 5th, you got to show that your 4 teams are really good, right? So that is my one problem with that. I wonder how they'll do tiebreakers. Personally, I would do, which I'm not sure what it says in the rules, but tiebreakers, honestly, and again, I'm going to be very negative to NA and EU. The first tiebreaker should absolutely be if you have more major teams, you lose the tiebreaker, right? Because you already have more representation there. So if you're tied with another region that has lower teams, send another team from that region, to get more teams out there. But that's just how I would do it. Let me know what you think and what you would do. Because right now, with best average LAN performance, it's going to be NA and Europe are like almost a lock to get the last chance qualifier. Then it comes down to Sam, Mina, and OC, right? And Mina very likely will get one if Falcons continue to be great. But we saw last year, Mina 2 was not great, right? They were, but Falcons were awesome. So Falcons might just get them an extra spot, which I think doesn't make a lot of sense. Back in the day when we used to have the major points for the world region spots would change for the world championship, it was more determined by that last place spot, right? So, which I think was way, way more fair. So that's one thing I'm not a big fan of here. But anyway, the 4 teams who qualified through the last chance qualifiers will join the 4 bottom seeds based on their LAN performance in the 2025 season in an 8-team GSL bracket. So the 4 bottom teams, now here's where they're going to begin doing like, all right, the 4 bottom teams, honestly, could again be 2 NA teams, like technically. But they could still have a last chance qualifier team in there. So there could be 3 of the 8 teams could be NA, which seems odd. Seems very, very odd. It's very unlikely, but it still seems odd that can happen. Basically, so you'll take your bottom 4 teams from the 2 majors, which, very, very likely are SSA, APAC, and then either the OC2, NA4, MENA2, SAM2, European 4. It's possible. So you take your bottom 4 and you play against the 4 last chance qualifier spots. So I do love this last chance qualifier to determine, so we get a better world championship bracket. So I'm pretty excited about that. One thing to note as well for I forgot my train of thought here. The world championship bracket, top 4 teams, we'll get back to it like if I remember. But that's how that'll... Oh, yes. Last chance qualifier. You can form completely new teams. It does not matter what the teams were before that. So if you didn't make the world championship and you're team 5 versus team 6, you can combine the 2 teams, right? And get your best player from team 6, put them on team 5, and try for that last chance qualifier. The last chance qualifiers are going to be hype. There's just going to be one open tournament, no rules, make whatever roster you want, and just go into it and try and win. And that's going to be really, really cool. So I'm excited for those tournaments. I'm excited for this last chance qualifier bracket at the World Championship. Again, it's just double elim. 2 losses, you're out. 2 wins, you're in. And I am happy it's 2 8-team brackets because, again, no rematches allowed. That is fantastic. The remaining 8 teams from Phase 2 will battle out in the well-known hybrid elimination bracket for the title of the Rocket League World Champion. The one thing that's said in the rule books that is not said here, which I hope gets changed, is they have groups of 4 for the World Championship with double elim. And I said earlier, I love the 8-team groups, but I hate groups of 4 because they are very, very prone to rematches. 75% of the time, you're going to get a rematch. If we have the right order of teams, right? Because you're going to have your favorite in Group A, Seed 1 versus Seed 4. So 1 wins and moves on. Then you got Seeds 2 and 3, in the middle. Whoever wins that will play Seed 1, very likely lose. Whoever loses that very likely beats Seed 4, and then that they just play again. I would much rather it be 8-team groups, so there's no rematches. So if you do get into a lopsided group, you still have a way to get out of it with 3 of your teams, right? So that's the only thing I don't like there as well. And again, if you guys have any qualms or the things that you love about these formats or whatever, feel free to throw it in the comments below. This video is getting a little bit long, so let's get right to the end here. Basically, here's our schedule, January through March. Let's see if there's dates here. I think there is dates. So we're starting early January. Early January. Europe, they begin right after the New Year. So you got January 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And the 10th, because now the main event they call is only top 8 teams. I'll probably still call main event top 16. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, EU, SAM, and APAC, they begin very, very soon. And then you move on. There is a little bit of a gap. And I wonder, let me see if I can bring it up. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, okay. So there is a bit of a gap. So main event basically is January 11th and 12th. Then you move on and you got the 18th and 19th. Oh yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure. So there might be some type of LAN event or something. I was like, maybe because the NFL, the Super Bowl is on the 8th and 9th, but I think that's what it was. Let me see again. Super Bowl is Sunday, February 9th, 2025. So yeah, there is going to be a North American main event on that day. So, interesting. But yeah, there is a gap of a week here or there. Maybe there's some other event that either is a Rocket League event, which I think is doubtful, or it's just something that like Blast is also doing. That's like, oh, we can't get the resources or, whatever. I'm not really sure why that is, but there is some gaps in the schedule. But basically, again, January through March is your first window. Then you got the Birmingham Major, which is when? I can't remember. Birmingham Major. Nope, these are opens. Birmingham Major. Here we go. March 27th through the 30th. And then... Oh, okay. They do show the 1v1 here on the final day. I wonder if that will change depending on if a team or if a player is in it. So we'll see. But yeah, so March 27th through 30th. So it's a 4-day event. And that is when the major is. So yeah, right at the end of March, we are done. Then you got your little transfer window. And then you begin again in April, but late April, it looks like. Main event, or mid-April, I guess, for the prelims for NA. Europe then is the later one this time around. And I'm not sure if there's any gaps here. It doesn't look like there's any gaps. I think we just go straight through. And then you got the major, which I don't think there's a date for yet. Oh, no, they still have a date. Okay. Main event, June 26th through 29th, 3v3. So, again, it's 4 days right at the end of June. So, we're doing like these 3-month chunks pretty much from the start to the end. Like, the first one's kind of mid-month, at least in April, for Split 2. But for the first one, it's like right at the beginning. So, you got June 26th through the 29th. We finished that off. Then there's the roster window. Then there's a long gap for teams that made the World Championship, but for everyone else, there's still the last chance qualifier, which can be a lot of fun. Main events for those, the 4 regions are 4 different weekends. So wherever that World Championship is, I guarantee you. So wherever that World Championship is, that region will go last. Very likely is what I assume, because it's going to be cutting it a little bit closer, a little easier to get travel for that region. So we'll see how that all plays out. But basically, every single weekend that there's going to be a main event to watch for the last chance qualifier, which is going to be a lot of fun. So starting in July. So we have about a month off, end of July, all the way through August. And then your World Championship, do they have dates? They do. September 9th through the 14th. So you have 2 weekends off, basically, in between. So 3 weekends or 3 weeks until the World Championship. Or 2.5 weeks, I guess. And then you got your World Championship, which is 6 days of action. So it's going to be a good time. And that's pretty much it. That's it for the format. If there's anything I missed, so if you have any other questions, I know this is a very long video. I did not expect it to take this long. I like to ramble. We all know this if you've been here before. But if you did make it to the end, I guess follow, subscribe, whatever it's called. I don't know. You do you. If you want to, feel free. But if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try and answer what I can. But basically, I don't know any more information than you guys know. So I'm just kind of basing it off these blog posts. So that'll do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.